So, like I have always mentioned on the podcast, the importance of having coaches and mentors. I've always brought up, the coaches and mentors that I have, whether it be with consulting, whether it be with music production, whether it be with entrepreneurship within the music industry. I have coaches, and I'm always going to have coaches, and I'm always going to have mentors for my entire life. And by ignoring that you actually need coaches and mentors, I'm not talking about your teachers in school, he's being quite ignorant. We don't know it all. And wherever we want to get to in our lives, like I may be at a certain level, but there's a level up that I actually need to go to, or want to go to. In order for me to get to that level, I am going to need to sit in the room or be associated with someone who has actually accomplished that goal that I am trying to accomplish. I'm sure most of you who watch a lot of motivational videos and so on have heard, this before. What I've just mentioned to you, it's quite similar, and I'm just mentioning to you guys, if you have not. And one thing I've evaluated this week for myself, actually I evaluated a long time ago, but I keep testing myself just to make sure that I've actually made the right decision. It's like integrating a new programmable software into my subconscious, or let's just say into a standard computer, into the hard drive. And of course, there's that period for, testing it out to make sure that there is no faults. And one thing I evaluated for myself this week is there has to be a limit when it comes to coaches and mentors. There's people out there who will definitely, who are in it for the wrong reasons and are just in it for financial gains and not really going to bring value to your life. And you just need to evaluate those people. But the people that are really good, which is the majority, and all are great, phenomenal coaches, mentors, motivational speakers. But I've reached a limit in my life where it's okay, who I'm with, from let's just say there's 20 of them, I only want to associate myself with say 2 or 3 of them. And even though all are sharing valuable information, but sometimes you'll also get similarities in the direction that we need to go to, where the world is changing exponentially. They're just saying it differently. So my advice to you is that when you're looking for coaches and mentors and you're going down this road, you need to reach a stage where you're just going to say, okay, I'm going to stick with party A and B and C and D. Look, I appreciate you guys, but I feel more comfortable with A and B. I connect better with them. I enjoy the content or their teaching methods, or whatever the reasons may be. So that's one thing that I can say, I've reached in my life where with my coaches and mentors, it's pinned down to set amount of people. And, that's where I want, my network to actually grow. And it's with the clients, as a consulting agency as well, once you're in with us, it's for life, and we're always going to have each other's backs. And if there's anything that we need to figure out for your own musical journey, whether it be as an artist or as a label owner, we're going to figure it out together, and we're going to figure it out with you, and we're going to grow with you. It's about family. It's about that sort of solid community with us. So every single month I receive educational content from my consulting coach in the US. And one of the introductions I was actually reading from the client services manager at the specific consulting agency. He was speaking about his journey when he was still in school and how he got into entrepreneurship, and it was so humbling. So just long story short, it was after school, him and his neighbor decided, okay, we're going to sell candy. His mother also sponsored biscuits, cookies, whatever you love to call it. And that's how he actually started off. And then he realized to himself, look, I can be rich. And that's how he started off his journey. And it sort of just reminded me of my journey as well, when I was in school, and, the early signs that we just ignore, or people around us actually ignores, when I started selling all the latest albums. Of course, I'm going to admit you guys, it was piracy, was what it was. I saw people going to Musical, for example, to pay $120 for the original CD. They would copy it with me. And I mean, at that time, if you had a blank CD, those days was still about CDs. I charge you 15 Rand to copy that specific album. Or if you didn't have a blank CD, I would charge you $20 to actually copy it. And I mean, I was getting the blank CDs for free via sponsorship from my father. And I mean, copying the music. So I mean, it was like, just for me, like 100% profit because we were getting music from the source as well. There was no cost linked to it. And that's how my journey actually started with music entrepreneurship. That was one of my early signs. Look, I am against piracy as I sit here recording this podcast right now on the 16th of June, 2024. I am against piracy, but it was a different era. And it was an era before Spotify was actually introduced to the market. I'm talking about like early 2000s when I was still in school, like between 2000, 2004. That was a period when I was just killing it with copying music and albums for fellow students. And as technology within mobile phones started to evolve, and then you could send files via infrared and Bluetooth, I also branched out into that. So I would like get a certain track that's popular just being released, and in order to send that track to you via Bluetooth, that also came with the cost. So so that's how my journey also started. And I'm sure there's many of you out there that have missed the early signs in your life. And when I look back on it, I have no regrets for my life. I do wish instead of going to like academic based school, I wish I could have gone to a music school. But look, different times, different eras, and at times now I can be on the podcast, and just like we did with the Unlocking Icons of Michael Jackson, I can share with you guys. If you are parents and you're sitting with young talent, I can share with parents advice on what to do and how to go about it. It was different back then. And I guess, what my parents did what they thought, was best at the time. But in 2024, with the amount of information out there, and if parents are really committed to the kids' talent, there's so many different options than going to a standard educational academic school, whatever the fuck you want to call it, just complete waste of time. So invest in that. So just like one of my coaches shared their humbling story about how they started off, I shared my story, and your story, hold it close to your heart. It sort of gives you, like for me, when I think about those days of selling those CDs, you can call it pirated music, whatever, sort of puts a smile on my face, like, yeah, I'm built for this. I've always been built for this. So always look out for those signs. I mean, if you really look at it now, all the people that I went to school with, all the A and B students, they didn't really have entrepreneurial spirit. They were like, okay, we're going to go to school, we're going to give our full attention in class, we're going to go home, we're going to do our homework like we write. I don't know how to explain it, like it's going to be the end of the world if we don't. And, we want to get an A on our assignments, we want to get an A on our tests, we want to get an A on exams. There was no entrepreneurial spirit. And unfortunately, those people always going to be stuck in the matrix working for the guys who did have the entrepreneurial spirit. Actually took the risk and saw further than the school walls. There's actually a video I shared on my Instagram, ephemeral content stories yesterday, where this phenomenal guy was talking about what the school system has really taught you. It's taught you to actually, get a job and work instead of creating and producing. And that day is the honest truth. And I had such a laugh out of it when he goes on to, you qualified as a chemical engineer, but the only thing you know how to do is write a CV, make a CV beautiful, telling all this crap about, I'm a team player and I don't have attitude. And I had such a laugh out of it because that is literally just what everyone is constantly doing. Instead of tapping in to your God-given skills and talents and creating a fulfilling life for yourself. Like, so what if you start off as an entrepreneur and say you got, say a passion for painting. Okay, because when you use painting, like my brain always goes to the creative side of things. And you decide to start painting, you put a few, you put your work out there, and you get a few sales here and there. There's a few galleries who want to host your work. And look, in the first few months, first few years, you earn enough to actually put food on your table, to pay, to have shelter, so on, to buy new brushes or canvas, whatever the case may be. As long as you're living a fulfilling life and you're happy, doesn't matter how much more after that you could potentially earn being in a day job that you actually hate and doesn't bring you complete happiness. So appreciate the little that you do get in. And the main thing you should realize is that at least you wake up in the morning and you're about to go about your day doing the stuff that you love the most. But this video, hopefully by the time you listen to this podcast, you can still catch up on my ephemeral content. It was just on point. And there's so many videos now. Keep in mind, social media algorithms, so the more I like, the more I save. It's going to keep showing me off the content. It's just how life works. It's like your life is an algorithm. It was one of my earlier podcasts, like in 2021, 2022, around there. Or it was one of my first videos I did in 2020, I'm not really sure. But when I say life is an algorithm, because who you surround yourself with, the content you actually take in on a day-to-day basis, the news you take in on a day-to-day basis, the positivity or negativity you take in on a day-to-day basis, whatever you're attracting, you're just going to get more of that. So always keep that in mind, that your life works the same as social media works by algorithm. So 11 minutes into the podcast and I still haven't gotten into the punchline of today. A few lessons I want to share with you guys, and I want to try to share it within 30 minutes, keeping the podcast short for you guys. But first up, I just want to share with you guys, which I never do in 2 weeks, the top 5 trends happening in the music industry at the moment. Of course, there's still a lot of heat around Spotify, a lot of controversy around Spotify, a lot of stuff happening at Spotify. And one of the things that's becoming a norm now is top executives at Spotify are selling shares like there is no tomorrow. It started off with Daniel Ek, the CEO of Spotify, and it's just going down the chain, man. And these people are just offloading millions and millions and millions of dollars of shares, which means something is happening. Not like something is happening. Yeah, it is happening. And we just have to keep an eye on the ball. So the first one is Spotify to launch a premium music tier that includes high fidelity audio. So just like all the other tiers that Spotify does have, there'll be one just for music. Number 2, music publishers file complaint with US Federal Trade Commission against Spotify over audiobook bundles. So this case is still continuing. I've mentioned the bundles before. The move resulted in Spotify paying a low mechanical royalty rate in the US. I mentioned that before. Yet the world's largest subscriptions of music streaming service may not have anticipated how fierce the opposition to its bundling decision would be from songwriters. David Israelite, who is CEO of the National Music Publishers Association in the US, quoted, "Spotify has declared war on songwriters. Our response shall be all-encompassing." Mentioned this before. I'm on both ends, but when it comes to protecting songwriters, I am for it. But I'm also, a loyal person, and feel like, okay, even though Spotify can be, full of shit sometimes with the tiers and then bundling and this and that, we also can't forget that how they've changed and revolutionized the industry and making it safer for all of us. Number 3, Robert Kink, who is the CEO of Warner Music Group, turns up the heat on pro metadata matching. So, goes on to say it's been a source of frustration amongst right holders for years that there's millions of dollars of unpaid royalties to the right holders. Where the so-called black box money goes when PROs cannot match a track's metadata to consumption and pay out accurately. The CEO called for the industry to figure out how to enable collection societies globally to collaborate in order to solve the issue of unmatched data. So let me tell you something, because there is a specific certain project that I am working on at the moment. I'm actually looking into getting a patent for it. This is how the world works. Show the songwriters, show the producers, show the labels that there's a problem, with metadata, that people are not getting paid. So where does that black box money go? So that's the problem. Now we have to come with the solution. The solution, and I'm going to say this really slow to you guys, the solution is artificial intelligence and the blockchain. They know it, I know it, now you know it. So they want people to come together to figure it out. They already know the solution. Migration to the blockchain. AI will pick up when music is used, where music is used. It will route it to the blockchain, and a transaction, that royalty transaction, will be sent directly to you, and it'll be faster than the pure PROs have ever been. I can't remember which company it was in the US. A PRO went private, and I was against it. Like, it shouldn't be a private organization. But now when you connect the dots, it's gone private because of the integration, implementation of artificial intelligence. So that is the solution that is going to fix this black box money issue. Number 4 is how Sony's $6 billion splurge has set the pace for music acquisitions over the past. I've spoken a lot about music acquisitions and why it's so critically important for them to actually invest in catalogs. I'm talking about millions and billions of dollars, and why you also, as an independent artist or label, you should actually do, even if it's small, investing, just like myself, into catalogs. Number 5, US music publishing revenue jumped 10.7% to $6.2 billion in 2023, outstripping recorded music's growth in percentage terms. The US music publishing industry is facing a new challenge in the form of Spotify's unexpected reduction to its mechanical royalty payouts. But despite this and other challenges, the songwriting and music publishing business remains strong. Okay, so the conclusion for the Key Noisy podcast today, the last segment of the podcast. So last week I shared with you guys chapter 2 of Unlocking Whitney Houston for you guys to listen to. So this week, just like we did with Unlocking Michael Jackson, after sharing chapter 2 with you, I want to touch on a few lessons that I mentioned within chapter 2 and within Unlocking Whitney Houston. So within my notes, I have you from Whitney Houston's phenomenal rise in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Here are key takeaways for independent artists like yourself. And then I went on to mention a USP, which is a unique selling point or unique selling proposition. So I am going to read you guys these notes on a USP and how to actually figure out, to give you a direction to figure out what your USP is. Within Unlocking the Icons, I spoke about, which is probably going to be in these notes, like what makes you, like what made me, like, different in my style of music. And I talk about like Becky Zako, which is coming out on Tuesday under MGX Entertainment, which is under Posh Mangosh Records and Deep Tech Entertainment. I spoke about the uniqueness of us bringing hip hop and Kwaito together in a final master. That's what, uniqueness that falls under our USP as well. So I go on to say within my notes, embrace your voice and style. Unique selling point. Whitney's powerhouse vocal and soulful delivery was her USP. Identify what makes your music distinct and focus on honing that strength. As an independent artist yourselves, identifying your USP is crucial for standing out in the crowded music industry. Here's what you can look for. Musical style and influences. First point is genre exploration. What musical genres do you gravitate towards? Do you blend elements from different styles to create a unique sound? Analyze your existing music and identify your sonic fingerprint. What I said, and I said it would be in the notes, blending elements, can form part of your USP. The next point is musical heroes. Who are your musical inspirations? Understanding the artists who influence you can help pinpoint the elements you incorporate in your sound. The third point, the next part is vocal and performance style. And the first point after that is vocal strengths and distinctions. What makes your voice unique? Is it your powerful belting range, soulful raspy tones, or smooth stylistic nuances? Now, to understand more about belting range, soulful raspy, or nuances, unlocking the icons. I explain it. I go on to say, I give a breakdown of how your vocal style can contribute to your unique selling proposition as an independent artist. I mentioned vocal strengths and distinctions, powerful belting range, soulful tones, nuances. I go on to say that beyond these examples, consider other characteristics, one being unique vocal timbre. This is your unique, naturally bright and airy or warm and husky. Is your voice naturally bright and airy or warm and husky? This inherent quality can be a defining aspect of your USP. I go on to talk about delivery and phrasing. Do you have a distinct way of phrasing words or bending notes? These can contribute to overall vocal style. Vocal effects usage. Do you incorporate vocal effects like distortion or layering to create a unique soundscape? This can be a creative way to stand out. I go on to say, remember, strengths don't have to be limited. Focus on what makes you special. So it's very critically important to identify what your USP is. This is things that I've mentioned a lot over the last 30 years. And any new client that comes into the Kino as a consulting agency first goes through this phase of identifying who they are and identifying their USP. Like, you get handed a questionnaire from us that asks you some deep sort of questions about you as a person. And these questions comes from one of my coaches who is a producer and a mentor for Marshall Mathers. Yes, Emma Nem. So when people ask me, okay, but Kino, why do I need to do this? And I mentioned this is how far up the ladder these questions actually come from. They're like, oh shit. It's critically important to know who you are. Believe it or not, and that's why the Kino as a consulting agency is structured the way it is, as in we don't just jump to the music straight away. When I get coached on the music side of things with my coaches and my mentors, it's never around music. It's never around music. That's a completely different topic. It's about me developing me as a person, psychologically, mentally, physically, following the basic human traits, mastering those traits to become a phenomenal whoever within the industry. Like, you master that foundation yourself, the rest is plug and play, and it's by the way. Because like frequency levels with the universe, no matter how educated you may be, or skillful you may be, or how good you may be at a certain thing, if your energy levels are low and your frequency levels are low, how do we really attract better or attract whatever is in that level up? And at times, and I know personally for me, it can be difficult, but just do your best. Like, one of the things, like if we look at a pyramid, the bottom of the pyramid is your environment. If you're in the right environment, it will sort of, the effect of that will be your good behavior, which will lead up the pyramid to, better thinking. And sometimes, we can be in an environment, and as much as we think it's all good, and look, if you do have a home and so on, let's just say you're an independent artist and you're in your bedroom, be grateful for it, but keep your frequency levels up and keep manifesting that, you will get better than that. Because at times it could be in your bedroom, but you may be like in a noisy area, you may be staying, in one of the townships and so on, and it's not exactly the ideal or safe environment to grow your career, and it can suck. Trust me, I know it can suck, but we just keep hoping and just moving forward spiritually in the right direction. And, just do your best to keep yourself in a good, decent environment, surround yourself with good people so you can keep your energy levels up. And once that's up, you can start, getting a sort of like good behavior going and a good way of thinking going. But ultimately, it's on you. So do your best with the frequency levels. Anyway, unlocking the icons with Kino Isaac. You can, I just shared you guys a brief description of the USP. Tap into the life of Whitney Houston, Tina Turner, Michael Jackson via unlocking the icons. You can just tap on one of the links on my social media platforms. Head over to my Patreon channel. You can subscribe, $5 a month, and you unlocking each month, which it's great. I unlock Whitney Houston. You got like a month to listen to it over and over as much as you want. Rewind, forward wind, and just tap in and unfold and see how you can take these lessons and implement it, integrate it into your life. So I will catch you next week again on the podcast. If you missed the Kino Isaac show on FM Stomp last night, you can catch a repeat of it 9 p.m. on Wednesday. Peace out.